So let's talk about clearing bloodlines and what that actually means. So a lot of people feel that if they're here and they identify as a light worker or starseed or empath, that's because their life path is just different. They feel that they are operating at a different level or system than the people around them and their family members, and therefore they feel that there's like this dark muck, a lower level of consciousness that needs to be cleared. So it's like these people are paving the way. And when I do a reading, we're always looking at the nature between light and dark and our binary DNA, in this dualistic world. And I think that it's an interesting way to look at it. If you look at our past history, the sun is making weird, whatever. Okay, so I spent a lot of time researching the Anunnaki and why they came here, what they were doing. And we make a big deal about the creational story where it sounds like they created this worker race that is supposedly us. Okay, well, who are the Anunnaki? Elena Denon in her book explains how the Anunnaki is actually a mix, because a lot of people get tripped up on this. People think that the Anunnaki are reptilian. Okay, yes and no. And I think this is a good way of explaining it if this is actually what happened. I can't prove, but there were galactic wars, and the Syrians were warring with the reptilians, and to make a peace treaty, the one of the reptilian queens mated with a Syrian or princess mated with a Syrian prince, and created like this new race that was half reptilian, half Syrian, but like humanoid Syrian. So the Anunnaki were half human, half reptilian, and I think that makes a lot of sense in our story, because when we look at our binary avatar code in the dualistic dance between light and dark, okay, the reptilian consciousness is a lower consciousness, service to self, and in the bad way, like what can I get off of people? They're parasitic archetype. And humanoids are mammals, so they have compassion. That is something that is built in. That's the empathy, wanting to take care of their offspring and their family members and the people around them, because of genuine care and compassion and understanding, a higher level of consciousness actually. On the emotional front, so what can we do with this information? Well, a lot of people who feel that they're on a much different path than what's been just repeated over and over again in our generational saga here, I think that what they're doing is they're clearing that that reptilian consciousness, the lower brain, the part that has to feel like it has to fight for survival and fight for energy and fight for resources and fight for land, and feels that it has to trick in order to obtain, because they don't have true power, because they are in a lower, they can only access the lower chakras and the lower vibrations, so they don't have that feeling of the divine within, so they have to go out and steal. In order to do that, they have to trick the divine, like, hey, we actually rule you, and if you want a piece of the abundance, you're gonna have to jump through all these hoops. And it's funny because in the creational stories of the Sumerian tablets, so Enki and Enlil really do play out like the good and evil story, because that's what their DNA is. They have this choice to make. Which way are you going to go? Are you going to be an even mix, or would you like to ascend, or do you want to just keep fighting for survival, your whole existence struggle? And because of that, the Sumerian texts are interesting because I feel like the Anunnaki wanted you to think that they are the gods, and that's why it was written and such, like they created us. But that's trickery, because humanoids already existed. They just modified and engineered things and then pulled the wool over our eyes, the dark ones, so that we'd never reclaim our power and understand what went on. And so they tried to hide and insert themselves into these creational ideas that had already been done. They tried to rewrite the story of creation and make themselves as the creator gods, which they're not. They were created too. They were given free will. They acted it out, and some tried to ascend and some did not. And here we are anyways right now, trying to continue that story and really open our eyes, because it's time for that part to end. It's time for us to really go inside and flip the script, and that's why we're here. So anyways, where will you be, changing, transforming the bloodline, and what does that mean? Okay, so you have to understand the idea of morphogenetic resonance, okay? So there have been studies done where if you have an actual living being and then you construct something that has a high dielectric constant, which means it has a charge implosive capacitance, which means it will be able to maintain a charge, okay? And you put wires through that, and it represents whatever living being you have next to it, okay? Whatever you do to this electronic voodoo doll, this living being is going to start mimicking, even physically. Like if you want to put change the ears or something, this physical being will start to change. Now, within the experiments, the living being didn't really know what was going on. So I feel like if you do know what's going on, you would be able to counteract what's trying to be done to you. And that's where you come in, okay? Because you know that that's being done on a certain level. Maybe not that level, but you understand that that DNA is trying to hold on to its lineage, its ideas, and that's when it comes to that reptilian dark side, that's a big no-go. We're not doing that game anymore. We're here to ascend and unlock the other strands, right? So the first strand is useful. We all need our survival instincts because we are in a sense animals, but we have the higher faculties so that we can acknowledge and be conscious and be in control. and use that part of us when necessary. So, if you're born into a bloodline, you will feel like the family is trying to do like the group thing, like this is how we all do this, so why aren't you participating? That why are you weird? Like, why can't you get on board with us? And so you're just gonna grow up feeling really misunderstood. And then as you become aware of your own divine essence within, you start to be able to be in control of that power, which you're really never in control of. It's that divine DNA coming in that you're allowing to be in control of you. It's God, the real one, not the fake Anunnaki stories and your fake rulers. Okay. But all along, that's what the lineage has been trying to do to their offspring. And just by thinking thoughts and trying to be a certain way, their DNA is yours. And so therefore it is like that electronic voodoo doll type thing. But once you gain consciousness of what's going on, once you realize that the DNA that you're working on, the higher level, is much more powerful, you become the dominant strand. Okay, so maybe rather than light workers and empaths and whatever we're calling ourselves, we can call ourselves the dominant stranders. I don't know. Or just stop labeling things. Because you do have a lot of empathy, and that's what, like, I understand, like, if you're going through stuff and you're an empath, your mind keeps on, like, rethinking it all, like, trauma that you've been through, you know, because the darker forces, they manipulate and they trick. So you're already in it before you knew you were in it, right? You're already in a big mess before you even knew where you were going, because you just assume that people have the same sort of morals and and intentions that you do. Okay, so then you're trying to work this out in your brain, and you're trying to work it out so that it can fit within the construct of the very DNA that you're trying to free yourself from. The very program that you're trying to free yourself from. And it does not compute because you can't explain yourself to the previous paradigm. They do not have the ability to understand. So that's why you are forging ahead, right? And blazing this trail, becoming the dominant strander, so that through morphogenetic resonance, maybe they will, maybe they won't. It's up to you to control your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And it's not up to you to have to explain why you do what you do, what you've been through, and your journey. The stronger vibration will prevail. And the strongest vibration is the divine. And that's why a lot of people say, give it to God, because you really can. That is the all-seeing eye. Not them, not them. They'd like you to think that that's the case. The all-seeing eye is God. And you don't have to explain anything to him, because he made your DNA. He created you. You just have to stop trying to control the situation. You have to stop trying to go down to try to explain, because that is your compassion. You want people to understand you, but you can't do that in your time, and you can't do that on your own. Let the big guy do that. You just follow the path that you're on.